Hello Year 6 and welcome to today's book club. Today we're reading the next chapter in The Explorer. Yesterday we read the chapter where Fred dived into the water to try and find the silvery thing he thought could have been a knife. As he was in the water, he nearly got attacked by an electric eel. And some of you have been submitting your answers for question of the day. The answer was an electric eel. It's an eel that can attack you with an electric shock. Finally managed to retrieve the silver thing, and it turned out not to be a knife but a sardine tin. So sardines are fish that you can often find in a tin in the supermarket. So this chapter is called Sardines. It took longer to coax the raft back upstream. Leela steered them close to the bank, and they hauled their way along an overhanging branches when the pole wasn't enough. The branches hung low, and all four were covered in ants and spiderwebs by the time they reached their home stretch of river, with fresh scratches on their hands. "I was here," said Con. "I recognized the way those vines wrapped around that branch." The branch stuck out conveniently over the river. It was perfectly placed to act as a mooring branch. It jutted out at the ideal angle, right above a bank of black Amazon soil. Fred stood wobbling hard on the raft. "Watch it!" said Con. The branch was just over his head. It was covered in tendrils where it met the tree and shone in green sunlight. He grabbed hold of it, tied a loop on the end of his liana rope, and hung it over the branch. "That's perfect," said Leela, "like a coat hook for our boat." "It is perfect." Fred stayed standing, looking up at the branch of his hand. He peered closer. "It's perfect because someone made it perfect." There was a beat of silence. Then, "What do you mean?" asked Con. She spoke very quietly. Fred didn't answer. He moved the branch to and fro under its covering of vines. It creaked backwards and forwards under his hand. The vines wound like a rope around it in a figure of 8, repeated over and over. "It didn't grow here. It's been tied on." Max was staring open-mouthed. "Who did it? Did you?" "No, Maxie," said Leela quietly. "Not him. Somebody else." Fred looked behind him. A gust of wind caught a pile of fallen leaves and spun them across the forest floor. The back of his neck prickled. He reminded himself again that trees do not keep secrets. They walked back to the clearing in single file. Fred came last. He turned to look backwards. At every step, the rustling in the bushes seemed to follow them. But it was just the wind, he told himself. Wind is a trickster. It plays havoc with your courage. The fire still had hot embers at its heart, and Fred lay down on his stomach in the grass and earth, blowing it like a bellows, his chin inches from the fire. His eyes were red and smoky by the time it was rekindled, but the roar of it sent a wave of relief through his chest. The fire was the closest thing they had to a weapon, and its warmth felt like safety. Leela was arranging their shoes, which had been soaked on the raft, in a circle around the ashes. "Can I see the thing you found in the water?" she asked. Fred held it out. Most of the writing was covered in rust, but he could see, written on its base, the ingredients. "Look at the bottom," he said. "It says, canned in Plymouth." Leela looked blank. "Plymouth is in England," said Fred, "down by the sea." "I didn't know you had fish in England," said Max. "Of course we have fish. What do you think we eat?" said Con. "Crumpets," said Max. "And cigars." "But if the tin comes from England," began Leela, "then it must have come with whoever made the camp," said Fred. "An explorer, maybe." "Who goes exploring with sardines?" asked Con. "People used to come out here with all sorts of things. Pianos and china ornaments. Sardines seem normal in comparison," said Fred. He felt a hot surge rising in his chest. If the person who made the camp had been English, he might have been one of the explorers from the newspapers Fred had read. One of the explorers who never returned. Percy Fawcett, Simon Murphy, Christopher McLaren. "I had a book," said Fred, "about a man called Hiram Bingham. He was climbing and he came across a whole city built by the Incas. It wasn't exactly discovering, because some of the Peruvians knew about it, but nobody else did. Can you imagine? It would be like suddenly finding the ruins of Birmingham in 1,000 years' time. Right, we're going to read the rest of the chapter tomorrow. Bye, Year 6.